am so excited that you've decided to join me live today. So I'd like to welcome you to the Lead Stronger, Longer podcast that inspires you to lead your life purposefully, personally and professionally, where we explore the journeys and insights of remarkable leaders who inspire us to live with integrity, purpose, and strength. I'm your host, Stephana Johnson, and today, Dagmar Fleming, the founder of Unlock Your Success mentorship programs for entrepreneurs, is joining me live. Dagmar is a 4 times best-selling author. Her groundbreaking triple quantum reset method empowers leaders to break free from hidden mental and emotional barriers, unleashing their innate potential and accelerating their growth. Driven by her passion for unlocking inner brilliance, she established the Athena Circle, an organization committed to nurturing growth, aligning purpose, and fostering holistic success among women leaders. In this episode, Dagmar is going to share her incredible journey, innovative methods, and the transformative impact of her work. So whether you're looking to overcome obstacles, achieve your goals, or simply be inspired, you won't want to miss this conversation. Welcome. I am so excited you are here. And we always like to start with your favorite quote or mantra. So what is that, Dagmar?
Well, hello, Stephana. Thank you so much for having me here. I am delighted to be having this conversation with you. And my favorite quote is from Ferdinand Foch. The most powerful weapon on earth is a human soul on fire. And it really speaks to the fact that we're living at times of consciousness crisis and a great polarization. So instead of fighting it with military weapons, it's time to bring peace, harmony, and evolution of our consciousness by getting fired up, by stepping into our potential, by stepping into our life mission and really living the life on the best possible terms so that others can watch us mirror that and we can create a completely different consciousness.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000,000%. And I think that that's super crucial. And in terms of it being this time, this place right now, it's so interesting because the more, you know, how the universe is, we live in this interesting universe in this time space of duality, right? So if there's this force of good and light that's coming out, how much is then, because of the balance of this duality of the universe, is then negative? And I'm really curious your take on that, because you have intuitive healing powers. You are, you know, I've been looking at your background a little bit, and there's some interesting things there that I'd like to unpack with you. And since you've willingly said, you know, you'll be here as long as like, let's just have an open conversation. I often like asking folks what led to their specialization. And so I'd like to start with that with you. And if you can go into how you're applying that quote that you just shared. I mean, pretty powerful there, right? That soul on fire. How do you apply it personally? How do you then bring that to the world with your specialization? So over to you.
Yes, thank you. I can't wait to have this conversation with you. My background is from ex-communist country, Poland, where we were supposed to be atheists, focused on building larger societies, but imprinted with a lot of limiting beliefs like poverty is a virtue and struggle is revered, and we should all just blend in for the good of the community. So when I came to America, I thought that this is the land of opportunity. I'm going to leave all these limitations behind. I'm going to step into entrepreneurship. And I did. I had an amazing corporate career and I started my own global consulting company. But little did I know that all that imprinting from my childhood, these concepts followed me across the ocean. So when my company reached the level of success that I just never dreamt about growing up in that ex-communist, well, first communist and then ex-communist country, I started sabotaging my own business. And this really led me to awakening of my soul, of this instantaneous divine download where I suddenly understood why we struggle, why we put roadblocks in front of ourselves, often unknowingly, literally inadvertently blocking ourselves from achieving dreams. And this was the moment of this triple quantum reset modality being presented to me through this intuitive insight, or some people call it divine download. But whatever you refer this instantaneous moment to, what matters about it is that it changed my life 180 degrees, because you cannot unsee what you see. So using that modality, I was able to clear myself, my own roadblocks, my own limitations. And as friends started coming to me and asking me to help them move forward, I realized that this process can work for others. So I dissolved my global consulting company, and Unlock Your Success was born, and the rest is history.
I love it. Okay. A couple questions I have for you. I just want to go back. I didn't understand a word you said. I just want to clarify it. So you said when you're in Poland, they wanted a larger, so was it atheist?
Yes, so
And they wanted
we
a
were not
larger, is
supposed,
that the word?
well, we were not supposed to be spiritual officially, because
Okay.
if you look at the ideology of communism, it does not allow for God.
Mm,
So even though I had these energy healing abilities, the clair, so-called, the clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, um, they were not looked at uh, well. So Poland being a Catholic country, we actually had to kind of fly under the radar. I remember when I was getting my communion, and my mom would wait until we got to the church to put the dress on. And then as soon as we left, we had to take it out, because my father was in the military. And again, when you were part of that political system, you officially were not allowed to be uh, oriented towards faith. So any of connection to the divine would be frowned upon. And I grew up essentially hiding my abilities from myself and from others.
mhm. Yeah. I think that that's a common theme in our world today. And, we look back at the time of like even the mid 90s, World War II, and we think, oh, that's a long time ago. And yet those repercussions are living out in us today in that ancestral chain, right? You talk about how you found it and your imprinting, and I have my own imprinting from my parents who were born during the war, and that whole imprinting, and then my grandparents who were born in the previous World War. And I bring up the war because it is the physical manifestation of this spiritual war, right? Of the destruction of the soul coming through, of the God divine coming through the individual to lead something better, as opposed to follow the little, you know, don't be unique, don't have, the whole just little what are they, pawns, right? The little zombies walking around with no thoughts of their own, right? Disconnected from that. And yet that is so unreal to me because of my awareness. So you talked a little bit, you talked as a brushstroke that you did do that. I'd love to know specifically what you did and if there was a crucial early mistake along that journey that you could share with us in a story.
Well, so, for me, let's start there. I believe that we are led as a soul to our ultimate purpose, and there is really no mistake. Even our downfalls, our perceived failures, some days are part of the journey. They are stepping stones, because just like Lao Tzu says, the journey of 1,000 steps begins with one. we never know how unusually we will be prepared for what we do later. So I'll give you an interesting story. When I was studying at The Ohio State University, I did a program in Toledo in Spain, and it was like an exchange program. So on my way back, I bought this amazing, big, authentic Toledo sword. And of course, coming back to the United States, I had no idea what to do with this, but that was back in 1998. So I wrapped it in styrofoam and shoved it into my closet. And it's been there for 20 some years. So one would think that was a silly thing. Why are you spending money? Why are you dragging it across the ocean and then it ends up in your closet rusting? Well, back in 2020, I received another divine download, and I saw this amazing ascended master Pallas Athena requesting, so to speak, to start an organization for women entrepreneurs that want to embrace professional, personal, and soul purpose. So this expansion on all levels of our existence. And guess what? As I saw the logo of our organization, the sword was right in the middle of it. So I just heard this insight, go pull out the sword from your laundry closet and do the initiation ceremony with the women, the founders of the Athena Circle. So who would think that something that we did 20 years ago would be a building block somewhere along the way? So I always encourage our listeners and viewers to give themselves a little bit of grace, because we never know how something seemingly not very important or even a mistake might end up playing into much bigger picture.
Right, exactly. I mean, in context, what we talk about is that your struggle is your stepping stone, like you said, right? That struggle is what is the necker that creates the pearl. And all we're doing is stringing pearls if we talk about that. And there's so many analogies and beautiful proverbs along those lines. So in terms of that, so you talked about Athena Circle, and I'd love to dive a little deeper. In terms of the divine download, so this isn't something tangible that many people can really get. So I'm curious, and I think you probably are up to the task for this. Something that a tangible, something someone could grasp to understand for themselves when they are getting a divine download or an intuitive hit or something that is to be acted on. How can someone tap into that? How can you share some insight there, especially knowing that you buried it and there was an internal struggle as you were growing up? There was a significant dichotomy of, no, I can't experience that, whatever that is. It's dangerous, or whatever the words were that maybe you used, because sometimes folks will see that and they're like, no, that's dangerous, stay away from that. And there's a lot of belief about that it's dangerous, whether it's communism or a religious belief or whatever. So I'd love to get your insight on that.
You know, I believe, Stephana, that absolutely every human being has enormous intuitive insight. It's just most of them ignore it. So we could say that every human being on this planet at certain point is receiving this divine download. And that's simply a moment of this incredible creative concept where suddenly you have this amazing idea that popped seemingly out of nowhere. And it's usually an idea that creates a quantum shift in your life, something that really expands you and gives you possibility to look at your life from a different perspective. So it could be as simple as you talking to your friend and giving her advice on her relationship, and the words seemingly pour out of you in such a flow and in such a fluid and aligned way that you almost wonder, where are these words coming from? Well, they're coming from your highest self, from that expanded consciousness that we all actually operate on. But again, the voice of your soul is usually pushed aside because it's not scientific, because it's not logical. The brain is restricted by the data coming from six senses. This intuition that every person possesses has no boundaries. It has access to the universal consciousness. So you suddenly have knowing that goes beyond the ordinary senses. And unfortunately, most people are taught not to trust that voice. Whereas
Isn't that
if
interesting?
we,
Yeah.
yeah, if
So,
we start paying attention, it will expand.
right, right. So my viewpoint and what I teach and share is that, we have the most powerful computer, our mind. And we have the most powerful, all of us, right? When it's aligned with our heart and our body and we're aligned with our heart line. But we've definitely been taught that to give our power to a digital device or to look for the answers in now it's AI. We're searching to get more ideas from an AI feedback instead of connecting with our own. And I wonder, from your viewpoint, how much is that this inverted piece of who we really are, right? Because we've gone into this scientific, which is not really science. I mean, if science is what? Science is looking at something long enough, investigating something long enough to eliminate other possibilities. And in the whole piece of science, it's to continue to investigate, to continue to ask questions. The moment you stop asking questions, it's no longer science, right? The moment you say, this is it and this is the answer, we know we're now in dogmatic land. So this piece around two things. One, we have this tool, right? I have this tool. I'm looking at a green dot, and then I'm looking at this screen giving me an image back of this flat image, and we're connected. And then if I step back from that and let go of the visual, and I just be with you for a moment, I can smell you. I can be with you because I practice that, because I know that for myself, but it's not something that's okay for the general population. But this is, and scrolling through a million YouTube videos or Instagram or whatever the next fun little thing is that hits us and keeps us distracted. So to me, it's like another powerful way to distract us from our truth, from ourselves, from our soul fire, right? When are we going to get it? When are we going to learn? When are we going to be able to lead ourselves? And because you are an advocate for women, is this our time? And is it a short window, or is the span of time generations, right? In this moment, I think of my son just turned 18, and it was like yesterday that he was an infant, and my heart is still, oh, what happened? It just gone by so fast. So are we in that time warp, or are we in that expansive space? And how can women show up completely in alignment with that using the Athena Circle or the gifts that you're bringing to the world?
Well, I love what you're talking about because recently we hosted for the Athena Circle an event on activating the divine feminine within. And I think what's happening right now, which is really something to be joyous about, is that we see a rise of this feminine power, which is not here to subjugate the male power, which used to dominate the female side. We're coming to create a harmony, a more of a balanced coexistence. And through eons of times, women try to play in the male world of leadership by adapting their skills, their ways of expression, even their values. So we were running on a survival. If we want to play with boys, we need to act like boys. But what's happening right now is we're able to pull back and really ride the essence of the divine feminine. Because as we started this podcast, you were talking a lot about the balance of yin and yang. Well, the last thousands of years were completely off balance. So as we women retract and go back into our own essence, it turns out that this female energy possesses all the qualities that we need to be successful. In fact, it's exactly what we should be running on, because men were designed to run on a male frequency and women were designed to run on a female one. So I think right now there is this amazing time for women to pull back from that patriarchal system and trying to play the game according to the patriarchal rules and simply say, I can be compassionate, I can be intuitive, and I can still be a business badass. I can still succeed in whatever career I choose, but I do not have to emulate the male frequency to accomplish these achievements. I can do it on my own.
Yeah, nice. I think that's definitely wise. So you mentioned in the order of magnitude, you said eons. And you also said, I believe you used the word of survival. So you felt that women and their value was based on survival, and talking about how they retracted their own essence to fit in, to be with to play with the boys. So again, this goes into this all or nothing. And I was like, okay, well, I have to play with I have to play with the boys in order to be in that. And does it have to be that way? Can we decide that that we're just going to play a different game, that we can not only be whole within ourselves? I love being a woman. I loved every moment of being a mama and nurturing and nourishing. And I also am very driven. And I'm also, very ferocious in certain pieces. But I definitely do not like the competitive masculine. And I'll just say it, because I have a masculine part of me that's very masculine. Very, right? Very like, oh, but, I think so. So in my world, I think it comes down this microcosm and the macrocosm. It's not mutually exclusive. I don't know. I mean, this whole word of feminism, I think feminism has been a word that's been hijacked and turned into something that's, I'm learning so much. Over the last few years, I've just really realized I know nothing. And so now I'm questioning everything, and it's really interesting. So when you're saying this piece for women, I think it's probably interesting for a woman to discover herself and her truth, because she'll feel like she's come home, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's so important. And I wonder if that is why these concepts and constructs of confusion in your own body of who you are and whether you're male or female and all this has been thrown into the mix to add more confusion and chaos to an already confused and gaslit population. I don't know. And I'm not intending to get into this conversation about that, although it's probably going to be a useful one at some point, especially for women and for girls who grow up and realize, whoa, wait a minute, when they start recognizing, and then maybe find someone like you and go, I've been lost. I've been trying to be a man, or I've been trying to wear the pants, or I've been trying to, whatever the analogy you want to use, play with the boys.
I think it comes to confusion of vibration, and that goes beyond gender.
Yeah.
The way I explain it to my clients is that God has given us our own essence, And that connection to the source that we all possess through our highest self, through our soul, is the engine that runs this existence. And then when so think of it, if there are 7 billion people on this planet, there are 7 billion gas stations for our vehicles. And the problem is that we tend to pull in our car into somebody else's gas station and run on their concepts, their perspectives, their limiting beliefs, their expectations. And then as we pull out of the gas station with all that junk, the car does not run optimal.
Right.
Why? Because it's wrong gas.
Hmm.
So what we do in the Athena Circle is we strive to bring all of us back to our unique essence. Who am I? What's important to me? What are my values? How do I want to show up in the world? What do I want to accomplish? And when we start running on that internal compass that says, this is my connection, this is who I am, this is the impact I would like to have on the world, that's when the life starts unfolding the best. And to me, that's not feminism. That's just everyone going back to their own essence, unique, beautiful, whether they are men or women, and
Hmm.
simply fulfilling that purpose, because God gave 7 billion actors on this planet to have an amazing role in other people's lives. And
Mm.
each actor has a different name and a different role. And when we
So,
start
so let's
mimicking,
let's unpack this just a little bit. Okay, so let's say the women or whomever it is, they've come in, and from whether it's your Athena group or they've gone through this step of reconnecting, cleaning out the gas of other people's gas and all the other pieces, and offloading whatever doesn't belong to their vehicle. And now they are plugged in and they are fueled up with their unique, perfect fuel. And now they're essentially leading themselves. Yes.
absolutely,
Okay.
and through that, leading others.
Okay. But wait a second. Now, leading others how? Because isn't it interesting? So now the individual is so clear on themselves. We can't always assume that everyone else in the group is also leading themselves and whole within themselves. We'd hope, and we'd certainly want those on our team. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And that's why we get the confusion and chaos. So, what is it that you would suggest transitioning, especially for leaders? Once they've got themselves and they are leading themselves, because that's first, they've got to lead themselves first with their values aligned with their vision, etc. Okay, so let's have that. Now, what does it look like empirically for a woman leader or man who's gone through this process and is whole in that, now going out and interacting with with all the other gas stations and all the other cars that are going into, right? We'll use your analogy, and there's confusion. How much time should they be spending in their business to handle that for their team, for those that they're leading? Right? This is a big problem. We can talk about it as the company culture or the HR problem or whatever, but ultimately it comes down to that unique. Like if everyone's running on their own pure fuel and they're all on purpose, then there would be natural alignment. But let's face it, that's not how things happen, right? Many leaders who are innovative and want to start with themselves first and get themselves cleaned up and go and do retreats and go and do things to take care of themselves and power on, then go back to their organization or even their families, and there's chaos. So what would you suggest on how to navigate all of that safely? Because we know it doesn't happen overnight and you can't just wave a magic wand, unfortunately. So I'm curious, how do you address that piece?
Well, everything that I do, whether it's Unlock Your Success mentorship or the Athena Circle, um, I always focus on the concept of divine sovereignty, the fact that each individual is unique and has the right to full expression, as long as they don't harm other people, of course. So to me, the concept of empowerment is simply about helping you tap into your own brilliance. And I see a lot of leadership style that uses the word empowerment, but it feels more like I am an example of an empowered, awakened human being, so you emulate me. When you work with me, whether it, again is through Unlock Your Success program or Athena Circle, my intent is to find out what makes you unique, what makes you brilliant. Can we activate that which is uniquely yours so that you bring yourself as a gift to the world? So there cannot be an ego. I am not seeking to create 1 million Dagmar Flemings. But I would love to see that there is another woman, part of my circle, beautiful, fully awakened to who she is, what she desires, how she wants to show up. So as we mirror back to others in our teams, how to show up, they can arise to this concept and realize, I don't need to be like you, Stephana. You don't need to be like me, but we can be equally empowered, and we can then truly affect the consciousness. Because let's face it, why do we have wars? Because we believe that somehow our concept of the world is superior to somebody else's. But what if we are equal? What if there is a beauty in every expression? God did not make a mistake. There's not a single human being on this planet that has the same fingerprints. Was that a mistake? Probably not. So why don't we just let go of this concept that I need to control others so that my world is beautiful? No, that's just control. Let's just have everyone having their own beautiful existence. And in divine tolerance, which is our second core value of the Athena Circle, we now start creating peaceful expression. Again, as long as we do no harm. I will never.
So let's talk about that. Do no harm. Let's talk about that a little bit, because you said, okay, you can do all this and create as long as you do no harm. But let's face it, there are those on this planet right now who are doing active harm as leaders.
They do.
So what would you do to handle that? Because it's a co-created reality. We are co-creating this. And we can't just put our heads in the sand and deny it, or go and create our beautiful life. I suppose we could, but there are still forces that are out there that are being created. And there is a part of me that also says, okay, well, I'm acknowledging that, and just my sheer acknowledging that, I am putting power towards that. So I understand that as well. But this is something where we do need to shine the light, right? We need to take the flashlight and look at those dark corners in order to see what's really there. And I think you would agree with me that that is part of the process, even for our own inner, to look at those dark corners that maybe we don't want to see or confront of our own, but those are the places that are the gifts, right? How would you address that? So how would you address this world that we live in with this beautiful concept that you have? I love this. I'm all for that we all find our own divine, and connect with that and lead with our vision and our values, and we clear up our emotional imprints, and we move forward, and we speak only into the world what we want. Yes, beautiful. I'm all for that. I want that. And well, you're in America. You've got that, and you also see all of that. So how do you navigate the reality?
Well, my invitation would be to understand that as within, so without. And what that means is that the macrocosm is an expression of microcosm. I cannot solve a conflict between two countries, but I can solve a conflict between me and my neighbor. Because everything is simply magnification of our own little stage that we live on. So we can say that, yes, there are big events going on that we may or may not have direct impact on or control over. But what we do control is our own life. And it's a law of magnitude of the frequency. So if we took 350 million of residents of the United States who said, for the next 2 weeks, I will resolve all the conflicts in my life, whether it's with my parents, my neighbors, my employees, whoever. Imagine what frequentially would that do to our consciousness?
Yeah,
Would
it'd be
we
powerful.
run on the frequency of warring, or would we run on frequency of peace? So the fastest way to affect change in the macrocosm is to fix it in your microcosm and then mirror that forward. Because the higher frequency always, by law of entanglement, pushes and pulls the lower vibration to it. So we need to stand as an example of the consciousness we want to create. And when all of us rise, we will solve the conflict because we simply will override the lower shadow frequency that looks for conflict, for power, for subjugation, for control. We
Mhm.
can't, I'm not in the United States government. I cannot control that policy, but I can control what I bring into this world. And do I want to play into polarization and subjugation, racism and oppression? Or do I want to elevate myself and people around me together to tolerance,
Yes.
compassion, collaboration,
You
inspiration?
play a new game. You choose a new game and you play a new game and you upgrade your piece. And I love that. I love it. So, what advice would you give to a leader and offer our leaders to lead stronger, longer?
You know what, I would recommend to do the inner work, which you hinted on throughout this conversation. We can only attract as leaders to us people who vibrate at the same level. John Maxwell calls it the leadership law of magnetism. So I would highly recommend that leaders give themselves permission to understand their core values, to show up authentically with all their beauty and all their flaws, with the positive traits of character, but also maybe with some challenges. And as we work through what's going on internally, we show others that it's okay for them to do the same work. So to lead others, we need to start with ourselves. And that's why in the Athena Circle and in Unlock Your Success programs, we always focus on who are you? What's important to you? How you would like to show up in the world? Because if we can have you be you and be okay with it, then we can allow everybody else to follow the suit.
Yeah, that's a great place to start for sure. What is your go-to book that's maybe had a major impact on you or how you lead? What's your favorite?
Well, I love John Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. But now I am so proud to be part of this compilation book by Mo Rock, who is the CEO of the Los Angeles Tribune. And I've been invited to be part of his project on the moral compass. So these are 28 principles on leadership. And what's amazing is that a number of authors were able to bring their commentary on what integrity in leadership is. So I would highly recommend that book as the most up-to-date view of this intuitive, expanded, the divine leadership that we all need to step into. That spiritual leadership where we recognize the unique soul of every human being and we can elevate truly all of us together to the next level of consciousness.
Nice. I love that. And congratulations. That's an excellent place to be a part of. What would be the best way for our folks to reach out to you?
Well, thank you for asking. So it's simple. It's just dagmarfleming.com. And that will also lead to the Athena Circle for women leaders who would like to elevate their divine feminine power and step forward, because it is time. If you think back to the times of Lemuria and Atlantis, the spiritual leaders were women. So while men would gather the food and running to, building the houses and ensuring the safety, we would gather together in these circles to hold the space, hold the vision for our communities. And now that frequency is coming forward, that divine feminine is being called to service, to step into our communities, form the circles, and hold the vision for the next stage of our evolution. So I highly recommend to come to us. Just visit our events, commune with our women, because power is in us coming together. The time of lonely light workers, lighthouses is over. Now the power is in the community.
I love that. I'm seeing that more and more, that siloed experience, and that we can start talking about this and having the conversations, and that there is a space, not just for women, but we can say soulful men as well, and bringing them into that. There is an understanding now, and I love this, and I so appreciate you and our introduction through our fellow guest that was here, Linda. Is that what?
Linda Fisk.
Yeah, she was sharing some insight along those as well. And just, it feels so good to know that there are leaders like you, and you're creating that safe space for leaders and for women leaders, because there is a sense of rawness, right? I think for myself, I know, and for my peers and colleagues that I've worked with, that there's been that experience where, should I even show that part of myself? Should I show up and allow that part of me to come up within me, so that we can talk about those things that are uncomfortable? Or will I be broken down? Or will I be criticized for showing that I have a heart and compassion and feeling? How much do I have to harden my heart? Those types of things. And I love that we can have these conversations now, and speak with this beautiful grace and yes, feminism, but also this sense of nourishment that I think has been missing, right? The sense of nourishing connection as a leader and within organizations, where you can just feel the resonance of nourishment. And I think that is truly what a woman brings, is the depth of nourishment that we're missing globally, right? So I just want to say thank you so much. And thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of Lead Stronger Longer. If you enjoyed today's episode, will you please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, because your feedback helps us continue to bring us powerful stories and valuable insights from outstanding leaders like Dagmar Fleming. Remember, you have the power to lead with integrity, create a positive impact, and achieve your goals without sacrificing your health, your relationships, or your true sense of yourself. So stay inspired, stay strong, and lead your life and business purposefully. Until next time, I'm Stephana Johnson, encouraging you to lead stronger,